I'm going to show you how to create the page from scratch in Kartra. So what you want to do is to click on this big blue button here to create new page, and then you can start from scratch. You can also always clone an existing page if you know that there is a section that you want to use, or like parts of the sales page you want to replicate. You can always clone that as well. But if you want to get started, one of your options is to start from a blank page. You can also use any templates if you have something that you're like, oh, those are kind of like, this is how I want things usually to look like. But you can also start from a blank page, but you can also start from a template if you feel like you need a little bit more support to maybe give you some ideas how things could look like, or you find something that you really like. So you can also see the page types here. So a squeeze page, a long sales page, thank you pages, marketplace, checkout pages, anything like that. So there's a lot, there's 470. So you can look at like the most popular ones, that's like the default filter that you have. And then you can look at like what you want to do. So for example, if you want to create a sales page, you can also use the long one, or you can use the squeeze page if you want something like shorter, or you can choose both of them. But then you can kind of see like what like catches your attention, but then you can also like preview something, so you can look like how it looks like, what are the other sections that are in there, because otherwise you only see the front page. So this is like an opt-in page essentially. So here you have the opt-in form, and then you have an image here on the left hand side. But if you want a more something with like more sections to get started, you can, like, for example, choose this one, or you can use any that you like. But I would recommend to like go through some of them just to get some ideas of how things could look like as well. So for example, if you know like, oh, this is kind of what I want to do, I can set that up. But for the sake of the example, I'll just choose a long sales page. I will just choose the first one. Then you want to go to select, so you actually choose this template, and then you can include the page name. So for example, I can use that, I can say like Kartra setup sales page. So this is for your reference only. The reason why I include your sales page is that you might want to have a thank you page as well. I mean, you need some kind of confirmation page for people after they purchase. So you always specify what kind of page it is, or if it's an opt-in page, whatever it is, so it's easy for me to see it at like a simple glance. Then you can choose a category, a site. You can also say no site in particular, but I always recommend to have your sites and your categories set up so you can make sure that everything is like nicely structured inside Kartra for you. So then I would look at or think about like what is the type of content that you want to put on here. Is there any section that you can kind of like modify that would fit you, that you can like repurpose, that you can use for your own content? So you can definitely do that. But I will also show you how to add new sections and how to adjust sections. So I will start with the first kind of like section here, to show you how to adjust things. So first of all, you have sections over here. So everything that kind of has like a different background is like a different section. And then you have like different like columns in there, but I will go through everything step by step. So this little gear icon here also tells you that it's section 1. It's always in the like very middle of a section. But when you click somewhere, you typically see that popping up as well. Let me first go through those options. So for example, you can also save a section as a favorite. I wouldn't do that if it's like a template, but if you create something that you know that you want to replicate across different like pages, for example, if you want to have a that you want to replicate, or if you want to have a footer where you have like maybe your social media, you can have a link to your terms and conditions or your privacy policy, anything like that. That could be something that you can easily replicate. Or if you want to have, I don't know, a section about yourself, something like that, you can definitely save that section as favorites. You can always use that. Then you have the edit source. I'm not going to go into because I think most people don't need that. And then you have the move button, so you can actually move the sections around. You can change the sequence, and then you can also clone it if you know like, oh, I want to use this again, or I want to use kind of the same type of setup but adjust that. then you have the edit button, and then you can delete the section as well. So I will show you what you can do when you edit the full section. So that is if you want to change something, like for example the background of the section, or you want to choose who like sees that. So for example here you can choose the padding. So you can always use those like icons kind of to show you like where that is. So if the padding is 100, that's kind of like the space between like the first like column over here and then this page. So if you make this like 50, for example, you can see that like there's less page or space over here, and you can also choose a different like background color. So you see that there's an image, but there's like an overlay. So if I use pink, you can see that it's like very pink, and you can also choose different like background patterns here, so you can kind of see how they look like. Then for the actual background, you can see that like you can have an image, you can also have a video, you can use the parallax scroll, so it kind of like through it. You can just test it out to see how that looks. And then I'm gonna move myself over a little. You can also like remove the selected image if you don't want to have that. Then you have this like pink, or you could select a different image that you want for the background. And then you can also like change the image like opacity and the blur over here. So that just makes the page a little bit more interesting. So we can test that out as well. So let me just use this lovely image of Bali over here. Then you can make the image opacity like 90, then it's much more visible what's over here, and you would like barely see any like pink tones a little bit in the sky. Or you can also make it blurry, so it just like you can see that there's something there, but like you can't really tell. So those are the options. Or you can also have it so that yeah, the section will be landing, and it will display at the like time. So you can do that if it's something that you really want to like highlight that wouldn't have the first section ever as like a delay. Or you can hide that. So sometimes like I always recommend to look at like how things also look on the mobile view, and sometimes you might want to like set things up separately for mobile and desktop to make sure that both of them like display really. So for example, you want to add like more branding images to the desktop view because they're just whereas from the mobile view you might want to like remove some of those. So it's very easy to like get the information like really quickly from mobile. So that's an option that you have as well. So that is basically everything you can do for the section. So just like very general settings that you can do for the whole section. So now let's go into detailed things over here. You can click into like every like element that is here. So if you just click into it, you have a few options here. You can clone it, you can edit it, you can edit, or you can delete that. So if you edit the style of it, then you can basically like move that around. So if this margin here like 50, it moves a bit more like to the bottom. Or you can also have effects here, so that's an animation trigger. So you can either have that as like on a hover or like on load, and then you can always like click here to kind of see how that looks like. So just make sometimes like the page like pop a little more, so you can click on it and just click apply if you want to do that. And if you want to change the text, then you would click over here, and then you can choose that the font line height. You can make things like bold, but like the usual like shortcuts would work for that. You can add any emojis from here, emojis that you can use, everything. Because I think they're a bit like slower adding like new cool things, but most of the things are here, and you can also search for it how it looks like. So that's basically how everything. Then I'm going to show you the column. So if you want to like make this one a little bit smaller, or you want to like, for example, maybe this one is a better example. I would columns on, so you can see how that looks like. So you can see this is kind of like one column, and this is the other column. So you can play a little bit with how they display. So you can see that currently there is one column that is 50% and the other one is 41. So you can always click on either one of them to kind of like make them bigger, so we still have some space to get to 100. So you can do it that way. If you click here, it will add another something, but you can also like those things around. So that's how you can play around with the columns. And then like you have this text over here, and then you have those images, and then in the same section you want to have something that is kind of like in the middle, then you would go to components. So this is where you can find everything, all of the assets that you can add. So let's just go through. So you can add any text fields. You can have animated text, so that's kind of like continuously running on the screen. You can add images, vid players, lists, like all of those good things, and like some of the widgets. So definitely, and then yeah, you can just see how to like do that. But like what is most important here to mention is that first you need to drag a new column if it's something that is in different size. So for example, if I want something that is kind of like full screen, I would just choose that, I would drag, and then it's something that yeah, is on the full screen, but toggle that. So but in order that is here like below those two sections, you need to create something new, and then you need to drag and drop a component. So it's very so let's I don't know, let's take an accordion, something more interesting. Then you can also see a few different styles that you can do here for accordion. So those are typically used for frequently asked questions. You can see like a different some over here. So what is important here to keep in mind is that none of those you can actually change all of the colors and the style. So you will just get used to it once you play around with them and you see what works for you. But then if you're happy with that, you're happy with like the size. I mean, right now it just doesn't make much sense, but just for the then you would yeah, close off the columns, and then you can upload, like you can adjust like all of the text. If I click here, then I can click edit the style. So then I like the whole component to edit, and then here I can also I can update. So that's what I can do. But I can't change those like little bunny other color than white. So you just have to like play around to see exactly what you can do and how. But then if you click, you can change like all of the text, things like that. So you can make those are like popping up for you, and like obviously the answers as well. So that is really, really handy. So I want to show a view as well, because here you can also do some cool things in addition to like changing the size. You can add a background color for the column. About that. But what you can do here is that now I can see the columns again. To either one, that I can choose, like I can update the settings for a specific column. I can, for example, change the background of it. So there are some additional settings. And in the beginning, it can take a little bit of time to figure out like what you can adjust where, but to do it like a few times. So here it's important to note that the blue one is like for this specific column. You can also see those like lines over here, and then the green buttons are basically for the like for both of those columns. So here again you have the same options to edit, to clone, to move, generation thing. You can definitely test that out as well. Or here you can edit the column width, but I always just prefer to drag them. But here, if you want to edit the style, then you can, for example, add a background to like just this like column. Whereas like when we did that from the section, it would also add it here on top. So here you can choose like a background color. So let's make it blue. It will pop nicely with this image. And then you can also update here like the margins, add like any corners that you want. So this is what you can do here as well. Or you can even add an image in the background as if you would like. So one of the important things is that you cannot sometimes make the background color white. So here you can, but like when you want to do that, sometimes for like only a specific section you can't do that. Sometimes just add a white background. It's like an additional tip. But that's what you can do. And then if you click on like a specific section or column, so only this one, then you can do basically the same type of things only for this specific section. So let's make this pink, for example. So only this background is pink. So that is very helpful as well. But you can also add an image, things like that. I think here, if you add an image, it's important to note that it will be like very big on the mobile view. So that's why I always recommend to like toggle or maybe even start designing from like kind of the view of like what is most important for you. If you feel like the mobile view is like that's how most people like look at your sales page, you can definitely do that as well. So that's something to keep in mind. So let me also show you how to add a new section and how you can use like even more templates in like an already templated sales page. So what you can do is if you just go like in between any of the sections, or you can also like do that on the top, but I would recommend to like go somewhere that you know like you want to add a section like in between here. Then you have a few options. So you can always choose like a favorite section here, or you can just start from like a blank section and do everything yourself, or you have like headers, footers, bottom bars. So, but here are like content sections as well. So that those could be like very handy as well. So for example, like hero sections are basically like just some like fully designed sections that you can add if you want like more input, or sometimes maybe you have already the copy for the page but you're like, I don't know how to like design that, so you can get some ideas over here. But here you can also see exactly what you can drag in. So content that can be very helpful if you have a little bit more text that you want to talk about, or that is really like, I don't know, like an about me type of section, something like that. So there are quite a lot of templates here that you can pull in as well. Or if you want to talk about the features of your offer, then that is definitely something that you can use as well. But you can have call to actions, opt-in forms, checkout forms, anything like that. So this is definitely what you can use. So if you're like, okay, I want to use like this one, or like, I don't know, I want to use an opt-in form, you can just click on it, find like a design that you like, or you feel like this needs the least amount of editing. So for example, you can already choose which side you want to have it on. You can always change that, but it's just like one less step to do. Or you're like, I don't want like anything, any other text. I just want the opt-in form, or like I want this to be in the middle, or I want this to be like large like that. Those are all options that you can take. So you can just click on it and then it will put it directly in between of those sections that you chose. And then you can of course like edit everything again for this section to make sure that it's going to be like great for you. So also, yeah, what you have to keep in mind, I mean, because there was already a full template and now we added another section, you get the section limit alert. So yeah, it shouldn't be like super long. So I always usually like go through the sales page first, and then I see like are those like all sections that I want to use. So I can just easily like delete something. So this one doesn't need to be maybe like a separate section. And I don't have like any statement that I want to like put in the middle to like highlight, then I can just always delete the section. And then there is a few more settings that you can go through here that I will show you. So here you have the sites. So you can assign this to a particular site. Those settings were also there when we first opened it. So that's another way how to do that. Then in the settings, you have SEO parameters. So here you can change the page title. This is especially important if you clone a page that you already built out, because the page title will be the same as your clone. So I always come in here and update that. Then you can add like a meta description to that, keywords. Kartra doesn't have the best SEO, but I still recommend to like fill that in if you want a chance to rank on Google or for anyone to find that. But like definitely then also like make sure that you know some things about SEO. And if you definitely want to make sure that no one sees that besides your clients, you can always hide that from the search engines. And then you also have like some styles here. You can change the whole page background. You can make like a specific page width here, or you can do the same for like components. You can change like you can choose like font family, font size, custom like styles here as well. But I usually don't touch those settings. So you have like you can have like full control of every section separately. And then the component one we already covered. So here is where you can like take in, grab, drag and drop any of the components you want to have. So one thing that I also usually have on is auto save, so that saves every 20 seconds. So in case something happens, you don't lose everything that you have. You can also use the undo and redo button, but when I design pages, I do usually save progress quite frequently as well, just to be sure. And then when you're ready with it, I usually publish live. You can use preview as well, but publish live really shows you like the full version, how things are going to look like once it's published. And that is also the place where you can adjust how the URL is going to be displayed. So you can like change the last part instead and letters. You can adjust that to like your offer name, for example. So you can get the page code if you want to like upload that to like another page, but usually you just need the page link here. So then you can just click on this button over here, especially if it's like a sales page or link you want to send out, then I would recommend to adjust that. So I can just call it like Kartra setup, for example, and then save that. And then you can just grab this link over here and put that into another browser window. So let me do that, and then you can see exactly how the page looks like to any visitor. Things might look slightly different depending on like anyone's like screen size, things like that, but like that's standard on any website. So so here we have the full site. Let me just get rid of the cookie notice over here. So you can see exactly how that looks like. All of the buttons here, it's a placeholder because we didn't put anything in there. And you can also see like, oh, maybe that doesn't look great. I need to add a bit of a space here. So things can look a little bit different when you look at it when it's published versus when it's when you're like